Hi and welcome to the Craft Channel. My name's Corinne Brad and I'm going to show you a technique today with Hexagon Dies. Now you may have seen these, they'll come in sort of nesting sets. The larger ones you can use for patchwork, but we've got some small ones here which are perfect for paper crafting, and I'm going to show you how to make quite an interesting background for your cards. So, the only drawback is you do have to cut the hexagons out individually, but if you've got a willing helper that's got nothing better to do, they can cut them all out for you. Or, you know, one evening while you're sat there in front of the TV, just cut yourself out lots and lots of little hexagons, and then take one plain piece of card and a glue stick, and we're quite simply going to run a line of hexagons across the top. Now I've cut these from a variety of metallics and glitters, and they're more or less the same weight. They're all a decent cardstock. If you're using paper, which you can do quite easily, you'll probably find that you can cut 2 sheets of paper at a time, which will save you a lot of time. But I like to use a stiffish, sort of at least a 200 gram cardstock. I feel it gives a better finish. That's just personal preference. So if you line up your hexagons to start with there, and don't worry about these bits on the outside, we'll deal with them in a minute. So we'll start with the second row. Again, this is a nice a textured glitter cardstock, and what you'll find is because these hexagons are precision cut, you can match up a perfect patchwork background, just like you would do if you were making a quilt, but believe me, this is a lot quicker than making a quilt, and it builds up like this. Now you might think, right, okay, that's fair enough, but what about the bits at the edge? I'll just show you how I deal with that. Just put a little bit of glue on here, and then pop them on like this. And what you really need to do is you need to give that glue time to dry properly. The number of times I've tried to flip something over and cut it and the glue hasn't dried and it's all skewed out. But then just line this up to the edge of your card. And actually what I would have done is I would have done these corner pieces, but they're a bit fiddly to do in a short space of time. So, sharp blade in your scalpel, metal ruler, and you can see that's just slipped. This is why I say you need to let your glue dry properly. But like I said before, I make these errors of judgment so that you don't have to. Oh, that's slipped and cut itself too small. Bear with me a minute while I replace it with the other edge of the hexagon. And this time I'm going to be a lot more careful when I cut it. And actually I'm just going to use the edge of the card as a guide. There you go, perfect. And it will be the same with these ones here. You can just trim them down. Quite neatly. If you don't exert too much pressure on your craft knife, you might have to go over the line twice, but what it means is you've got a lot more control over it, so you don't risk cutting into your base card. So you'll build up the hexagon design and you'll trim it down so it will look like this one that I made earlier. Let's just move these pieces to one side a minute. I've chosen a nice strong colour background to mount this on. This is an A5 card. Quick bit of glue on the back just to hold it in place so it doesn't fall off while I'm demonstrating to you. And I always find if you've got a panel like this, this has been measured so it should fit perfectly on the card with an even border all the way around. But it's always best to line it up to your folded edge first of all, because if you are slightly on the skew, or it's slightly too big or slightly too small, it's a lot easier to trim something off the open edge of the card than it is off the fold. Trim it off the fold, your card will fall apart. So there you've got your background, and as I say, you've got metallics, you've got glitters in there, you've got a pearlised effect, and all I'm going to do to finish this card is I've mounted a strip of pearlised paper onto a strip of glitter paper, and I'm going to glue it across the card about here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lines of my hexagons as a guide for the placement of the card. And then my normal trick, turn it over and just trim that strip to the edge of the card. Okay. I can't stress the importance of making sure you've got a sharp blade in your craft knife if you're when you're starting out making a card. So there's your card base. Now I've also got some little intricate dies here, some steel cutting dies. I have a little bunny. I've cut out one in pale pink, and I've cut this out of a slightly thicker cardstock than the pale pink, and what it's done is it's cut the outline out perfectly, but when I lifted it from the die, the infill pieces didn't come out. So to make sure they stay in place, I've popped a bit of washi tape on the back and just trimmed it to size, because what I wanted was a solid shape. Oh, you can't really see it very well on there. Let's do it on here. So if you get your solid shape and you get your cutout and you shake your glue to the end of the bottle so it comes out quickly, all you need is a few little dabs of glue, parts of the card which aren't cut out, obviously. You wouldn't put glue in the holes anyway, would you? What am I talking about? Pop that on there and then just lay it down perfectly on top. And what's quite nice is because you've got that cut out on the underlayer, you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it almost looks like it's embossed because you've got that extra line. So you've got quite a three-dimensional rabbit from that simple die. So here's a little trio of rabbits that I've made earlier, all with washi tape on the back. Washi tape, again, is one of those things that I don't know how I ever survived without. And I'm just going to mount these on the card with a foam pad. You might want to use a foam pad or two for extra security. And I'm going to do these down towards the left-hand side of the right-hand side of the card, because what it does do is it will give you a little bit of space at the top that you can put a greeting. If you wish, you know, happy birthday, happy Easter, hope you like bunnies, something similar to that. And again, I'm using the hexagons as a guide to the placement of the rabbit's feet to make sure they're in a nice straight line, and just measuring it by eye. So there you go. Nice background. It's an intricate looking background, but it actually doesn't take that long, especially if you've done your preparation work in the first place. You could sit down and make 5 of these cards all in one batch. Makes life a lot easier. And a really nice little decorative bunny on the end of it. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to find out where you can get your dies from, have a look at the description at the bottom. And we'll see you next time. Hey, if you've been inspired to make, please share your craft in the comments. And if you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button below. Do you want to see more from us at the Craft channel? Then hit subscribe. See you next time.